Welcome back to Business Weekly, the show where I break down real challenges that entrepreneurs are facing and giving you practical strategies to grow and scale your business. I'm your hostess with the mostest, your drip strategist and your boss methodologist, Miss J. And today we're diving into one of our biggest frustrations for entrepreneurs, and that's why are my leads not converting? Now you're probably saying this doesn't happen to me. Psych, you know it does. Okay. And you're getting the interest, you're getting the inquiries, maybe even the calls, but the yes is missing. So let's uncover what's really happening between curiosity and commitment. Now, like I like to talk about each week, each topic really gives us something to think about. And this one today is really one that I know that people are struggling with, because at the end of the day, there's some challenges that they're having. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today. I don't have any more slides for you today because we have an amazing guest, and I want to make sure I have enough time to go through a lot of great questions that I've gotten from posting and people asking questions. So I did incorporate them, and we're going to be talking about today. So Mr. T, you can drop this slide down. I want to talk about 3 challenges. And first off, do you all like my amazing new studio? Isn't it amazing? Yes, love me doing it. I want to talk about 3 challenges that a lot of people are surfacing with. And the first one that I've seen is misaligned messaging. What is that? Well, often entrepreneurs, they tend to think that they're talking to everyone. And we say, when I always ask, who is this product or service for? The first thing they want to tell me is everybody. Yes, everybody does shower, but not everybody uses the same towel brand. I'm just going to put it out there. Everybody does drive, but not everybody drives the same car. So you have to first just kind of take off that everyone thing. You want to think about those who are the right fit for you. I say if someone says no, that's a blessing. Why? Because you're not wasting your time, you're not wasting your product, or you're not wasting your service. Okay? So when you think about your messaging, you want to really think about, is it clearly speaking to the people that you're trying to speak to? Now, remember we spoke about the business plan, the blueprint to the vision? Well, guess what I'm going to tell you and where to go. Yes, your business plan. Your business plan is going to tell you who you want, who you designed the product or service for, and who you want to market it to. So let's give you another example. If selling luxury services to someone who likes discount shopping, do you really think they're coming out their pockets to be buying a luxury brand? Probably not, right? So these are little things, little challenges that are seeing. Here's challenge number 2 that I find. These are my top 3 challenges, okay? Top 3 challenges. The first one is misaligned messaging. The second one is the weak sales process or follow-up. So how often are you following up with your leads? Now, I know we go to these events, we're at trade shows, we're here, we're there, and we're talking, and we're excited, and we're spending cards, and we're doing the damn thing, and we're like coming home, counting these cards like they're coins, honey, yes, money, people who are interested. But even warm leads, if not followed up with, can go cold without a structured or follow-up system. And we're going to be talking more about that in our upcoming interview. But I want to kind of highlight some of the challenges that people are facing, because at the end of the day, your goal is to convert. That's really where it happens. You can have 1,000 leads, but if none of them are converting, they're not going to turn into cash, right? So you want to make sure that you're creating those systems and whatnot, and think about, how are my systems structured? Are they structured enough for me to follow up? Do I have automation systems? So I'm going to put all these pieces out there, because when we have this conversation today with my guest, we are going to be there. Hey, y'all, where my girl? Miss T's in the building. What up, my squad? So my flight squad comes every week, people, because why? Let me tell you, I'm just going to diverse for a hot second, because I just have to tell you that my clients are winning. There's my girl from the Sweet Spot. Shout out to the CEO of the Sweet Spot, none other than Miss Stacy. Hey, Miss Stacy. My clients are winning. I am so proud of them. Like, I'm a proud business mom, a proud business auntie, a proud business bestie. I'm just so proud of them. They are winning. Why? Because they're here every week. Even though I'm their coach, they still show up every week. Why? Because knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is wisdom. And sometimes we underestimate the power of repetition. We underestimate the power of continuously hearing messages that can help us. And let me tell you, I can go to a business coaching session. I can go to, yes, facts. I can go to, or just listen to things on masterclass, or just listening to people over and over again. Why? Because there's so much more gems that are dropped when you kind of understand the basics, the fundamentals. When you start listening repetitively to things, and that's why they urge you to reread a book, they may urge you to attend a workshop or any workshop based on a topic. And that's important because you're starting to not only hear the message differently, but your brain starts to level up the information and keeps adding to what you've learned before. So if you've watched a video or you've gone to an event and you're getting that information, I encourage you to always reread your notes. If you don't have notes, re-listen to the replay my show, get on here, go on my website. You can find it at empirebydesign.ca, or you can go straight to Love Base, subscribe, click the link and subscribe, and hit the replays on the shows. Because the more you listen, the more you know, and the more your business grows. All right. So if you're just coming in, welcome to Love Day Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. I'm so proud of my new set. I love it. I was telling Mr. T, I said, Mr. T, when I saw it, I'm like, Mr. T, what's mine? And that was remedied very quickly. So we're in the new studio. Now, the other challenge, we had two challenges. So misaligned messaging, we also talked about weak sales processes or follow-up. Okay, now, and the third is lack of trust and value clarity. That's a big one. Because if people can't see your value or people don't trust your product, then your credibility and your authority doesn't translate. Okay. And for many people, whether you're a product or a service, it's very important that people take in who you are, what you do, and how well you do it. Okay. So if it's not matching up, then that's going to be a bit of a problem for you. Okay. So I want you to really take that in. Now, I've given you these challenges, so let's get to the answers. That's what you're saying, that let's get to the answers, and that's what we're going to do. I want to introduce our incoming guest. You can throw her up on the screen, Mr. T. She lost her father to leukemia, and that really sparked a journey. Not her, Mr. T, her picture. Mr. T is ruining my grand surprise. I love you, sir. I love you. Me and my producer, we have way too much fun on this show, but that's how it's supposed to be. I want to read her bio before she comes on because, that's what we got to do. So losing her father to leukemia sparked a journey on a new path. She embarked on her first fundraising effort in 2013 to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And after that, she never looked back. She created grassroots funds, I always mix that up, as a way to help nonprofits and causes raise funds more efficiently, and designed a system to make it more effective and efficient to empower her clients' campaigns to thrive and make a lasting impact. Let me tell you, in the last few years, she has done over $500,000 in fundraising, and she is showing no signs in slowing down. She just had her masterclass happen on Tuesday, and she had 45 organizations who were interested in finding out how to master lead conversion. So without further ado, I welcome to the show, Roxana Muzzammel. Now you bring her on. Dun, dun.
Hi,
Girl.
hi, everyone.
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well.
You must be tired. It's been a real big week for you. Lots of stuff happening.
Yes, lots of stuff happening. We had our huge master class. I just came back from out of town from a conference. And then just a lot of calls. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. You just came back from where?
I just came back from Las Vegas. I went to the Level Up conference, and I connected with a lot of businesses, and then businesses that had nonprofit organizations. I spoke to a lot of them. And then I held my master class yesterday, and it was a lot. So it was just a lot of follow through, and today just a lot of prospect calls from that master class afterwards. So it's
Look
just,
at that.
it's quite a journey. Yes.
And and that's why we're here, and that's why I had to have you on. People think that lead conversion is just not even raising money is just for nonprofits, but I love the fact that the skill sets are the same for businesses and not for profits, right?
Yeah.
That lead
Yeah.
generation and then the conversion. If you have missed her class, I promoted it for 2 solid weeks on the show, but if you did miss the class, she's going to be doing another one shortly. So I will put it back up. You guys have to come to it. It's amazing. Lots of great conversation that was happening amongst the NPOs and boards and community grassroots. There was just a lot of different types of people in the room, so it was really great for networking. But let's jump into this conversation. Let's start talking a little bit about how to start taking these leads and converting them. Let's talk about let's walk it, our audience through somewhat of a scenario base. So let's say a new donor shows interest. What's your process for moving them from curiosity to making that first gift? So that's more of a campaign. Like, what would be some of the things that you would think is important for people to know?
Yeah, I would first start with a genuine connection, then instead of having an immediate ask for a donation. You want to establish a genuine connection, why they're interested. First, listen why they're interested, like what drew them in, like what kind of impact do they want to make, right? Like just kind of get an understanding of where they're coming from, and then share your story for your organization, your why. People resonate well with the story, and they also resonate well with they want to make relationships, right? They donate to people, right? They invest in people as opposed to an organization. They want to know the person behind the organization, running the organization. So I think it's very like to build a long-term relationship with the donor. It's just better to establish that relationship for the long term, and then you can come for the ask. Don't go in. It's not a transactional. It's more people based. It's not a transactional relationship. You want to kind of hone in on that genuine connection and build that relationship first.
I love that. And I know your systems because I designed 90% of it. But I love what the energy you bring to it, because you bring the knowledge, and I tell people I can design anything you want. I can take a system, or a concept and turn it into a full system. Where you become very pinnacle, and I'm speaking to my audience here, where you become pinnacle is understanding what you're doing. And one of the things I love about Roxana is that she understands, and she's very adamant when she's convicted. Like, this is not going to work and we're not doing it. And it makes sense because she understands the process. And I like what you just said there, that it's not transactional. It's relationship based. And I think a lot of people miss that, whether you're a profit or non-for-profit. People don't really recognize that you have to connect the dots for people about your organization, right? Because you're basically helping them to say, well, I want to give, but what are they giving for? These are kind of things you have to, that I hear you ask, like, what's your mission? What's the vision here? Maybe elaborate a little bit more on the importance of donors understanding who they're giving the gift to.
Yeah, so they need to understand, right? Like if you're like, let's say if it's for instance, you told me about the story of like how I raised a lot of funds for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society and why it's important to me because I lost my father, right? But like you need to, like, whatever you're the founder, if it's a founder of a nonprofit or if you're a CEO of a business, right? You want to kind of establish that relationship, why this is important to you, right? And then why it's important that they donate to the cause or give to the cause, because it's to help other cancer patients for a chance for a cure, right? Because I've been personally affected, and people donate to other people. So if they invest because they like you, right? They build a relationship with you and they want to support you. People generally, out of the goodness of their heart, want to support other people. So whether it's like obtaining their service or showing their support, like it doesn't matter. Even on the business context, people want to support you. They'll spread the word to others in their networks. of your business and services, right? So, but if it's for a nonprofit, they'll share the work, be like, this is an amazing cause. I know this person. She's running this campaign either as a volunteer or she's a director of this nonprofit organization. And I really like she's a genuine person. I can trust her, because it all comes down to the person, right? The person behind the organization. If they're not trustworthy, then the organization's not trustworthy. So it comes down to the individual.
You heard it here. And that's something that we speak to all the time. We talk about being the authentic me and being authenticity and stuff like that, but that really has to resonate, and we say that's one of the challenges, that if your credibility is challenged or your authenticity is challenged as an organization or a business, you're hard pressed to find it. Which talks about challenges. What are some common challenges you see nonprofits facing when it comes to converting interested prospects into a committed donor?
Yeah, I guess one of the biggest challenges is lack of timely follow-up and follow through, right? People interest fades quickly, right? Like without a clear next step. So you need to be like, I know it can be a lot, but you need to be like after like a certain, like let's say you had a fundraising campaign, then it's time, like an event. After that, you need to have like a timely follow-up, just because it's on top of mind, right?
Yeah.
So and it's about being timely. Like when you're not being timely, if you send a message out like weeks after an event occurred, a nonprofit fundraising event, then it's not in their mind, right? There's no
Right.
excitement there. So it's all about timely follow-up, but it's not even just one follow-up, it's multiple follow-ups. And it's about keeping the conversation going, right?
Yeah.
Because usually it'll take like 14 touch points or 21 touch points that could lead to a donation from a new donor.
Yeah. And, it's funny because when we first started out, and one of the questions I had for her was, how much times do you send it before they get sick and tired of you? And she said, honestly, if you're doing it properly, they never get sick and tired. In fact, they just fall more and more in love with the organization, because they can understand the organization, what the purpose is. And I think a lot of times, people face that donor fatigue, where you're just consistently talking to the same person. And I think that's where a lot of organizations and even contacts, they face that challenge of getting new. And in your workshop, you talked about building your donor list. Can you maybe share a little bit as to why you created that product?
That service. Yeah. So the budding plan, right? So that is one of the services that I offer, is building out your donor and supporter base. So if your organization feels like you're having donor fatigue, right? Like, it's always reaching out to your existing supporter base, asking them to give all the time. Then it can be like, then they'll have something called donor fatigue, where they're tired of giving because they're always giving to your organization, and you kind of need to like branch out to new donors. And I've created the service to kind of like fill that gap. And then also nonprofit organizations that don't even have an adequate donor and supporter base, they haven't grown to that level. How do we get them to that level? And that's why I noticed that was a problem. Like they can't put together an online fundraising campaign if they don't have an adequate supporter base. So I built, like I've created that service for them, so we can kind of analyze, okay, what are the types of donors and supporters would resonate with their cause, with their mission, that are like mission aligned. And then once we create a donor profile, then we can go out and reach out and target to those specific folks, like find people in that industry that aligns with the organization and help grow that list. And it does take time, because it's not like you're just connecting, but you're trying to warm them up, build that connection, kind of bring that awareness of what the cause is all about, what the organization does, and, more about meet the founder, meet the executive director, hear more information about the organization, right? Kind of warming them up, kind of talking about like all the wonderful work that the organization is doing. And then once you warm up a contact, like a cold contact, and you're building that connection, that relationship, even getting on a coffee chat with some of the donors, like some of the potential supporters, right? And then they can also share your mission. So it's about building that trust and building that relationship and become being like genuine and authentic and like and just having, because right now relationships, community is a thing to grow your organization supporter base.
Wow, I'm just looking at myself in this wonderful studio. I was listening to everything you were saying. Did have a moment here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked into the comment. Wow, this looks really good. Okay, yes, I did not diverse, but that's 100% what you're saying is true. And I want to recap something that you just said. It's about understanding who you're talking to. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes, but you said something really key, you know, sit down with them, like almost take a moment,
Yeah.
breathe, pause, and stretch. Because a lot of times in donor, people real don't. I mean, it's in the same to me. To me, it's the same as when you're selling your product or service. I was in a meeting today, and I was talking, and I said to them, think about it as why they want your product or service, right? Don't think about I'm making the sale. Think about how are they going to benefit? How is this going to make them happy? How is it going to solve a problem? And I think that's very much the same with donors. Sometimes people believe that their cause is enough. Well, I'm raising money for dogs who are dying or whatever the case may be, and they think that's enough. But the question that I'm leading into here is how can they ensure that their message speaks directly to the values and motivations of their ideal donor base, right? So I'm just going to use that example. I'm doing something for the dogs and I want you to support me. How can my messaging there speak directly to the person who would support
Right.
me with my initiative?
Right. No, you need to understand, right? Like where, like, let's say you put a hypothetical organization, Save the Dogs, right? Like,
Mhm.
why would Save the Dogs resonate with this particular donor? Like, do they, are they a pet lover? Do they like dogs? I mean, do
Mhm.
they
Right.
care about the humanity of other animals? I mean, you need to kind of get an understanding, even if they don't have, if they're not a pet owner, they're not really big into animals, you need to also find, this is, you need to find, okay, what is their aspirations? Like, is it just
Mhm.
better, for, you need to understand, like, build that relationship first, understand what their aspirations. Don't have like generic communication, like, oh, because this is important to me, right? We understand
Mhm.
it's important to you, but you also need to understand where the potential donor and supporter is coming from and why this organization's cause resonates with them. And then you can build upon that relationship and say, okay, there's some common interest here, right? So, and I see that, that because these are some of your aspirations, that you really care about the goodwill. And I feel like my organization can really help with that. So you kind of have to tie it in to why it's also important to them. It shouldn't be about, I mean, it shouldn't be about what you want, because obviously you're servicing a need, right? You're servicing a
Mhm.
need for a community, but you also need to tie it in why, why the donor, the potential donor and supporter should care specifically
Mhm.
about the cause and how it pertains to them. Maybe they have family members that have their dog owners, or, have are, whatever tied to like animals, right?
Right.
So you just need to see what that is and how to resonate it back to them, because you shouldn't be always talking about, okay, this is the community that we serve, but then also see how they have a connection as well.
Yeah. And that connection could be so different in so many different ways, right?
Yes.
And I mean, like in cancer, for example, there's so many different forms of cancer. It's not just
Mhm.
one. So if you're
Yeah.
talking about cancer, maybe like you raise the money for the leukemia and lymphoma, Olive
Mhm.
Branch for Hope, lymphoma. Like it's very, this is what it is. And it's important because my mom died of cancer, but it wasn't lymphoma, it was bone, right? So, and I don't even know all the technical terms to that,
Yeah.
but the connection for me to give wasn't based on something I couldn't understand. And I think sometimes, when we're talking to people, we have to remind ourselves that they're not going to resonate with the lingo of what you're using, because honestly, they don't know it, right? And so when we talked about earlier in challenge one, we talked about the misaligned messaging. And that's something that Roxana, you're really harping in on here, that you got to be clear on what you're talking about, and you got to be clear what your ask is, right? And that's important because there's a lot of people out there asking. There's a lot of people out there asking, and sometimes you go and the back end is really flimsy, right? So it's almost, I'm going to talk to my CEOs now on the profit side. How does this relate, Miss J? Well, I'm going to tell you real quick. It relates because if you are misaligning your messaging about your product or service, you're going to have a tough time moving that product or service. If you talk to the right people, it's going to be an easy sell, right? And then you have to remind yourself that your product or service may not convert to everybody who is in that field looking. You know what I mean? Does that resonate, Roxana? It's like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to be really careful about what you're saying and who you're saying it to, because you could be wasting, in the Bible Proverbs, you'd be throwing pearls before swine, right? If the pig is not interested in ribs.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I just gave myself a joke. That was such an inside joke. Don't worry about it, Roxana. We're back on track. Right? But let's talk more now how the misaligned messaging, or having the right messaging, how does that play into trust? We know trust is huge in fundraising. So what are strategies that you've seen work best for building long-term donor confidence?
Yeah. So I guess before talking to the donor, do some research or have some surveys, analyze, what has the donor has provided or given to in the past, what moves that particular donor, right? Build messaging around that, right? So we can connect what their motivations are. Do a lot of storytelling. Really resonates with people, right? So start with the story, whether it's personally tied or not. You said something about your mother having bone cancer, but I was with Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and I did 2 fundraisers, and one of them was for sponsoring an immunotherapy cancer research grant, and that helps not just blood related cancers, but also solids and tumors, right? So that, and blood cancer, that research also helps with solids and tumors, because blood is faster. The results are much more faster, and it can kind of help with speed up other types of research for other types of cancers, like solids and tumors. So sometimes you just need to kind of tie in, even though it's not specifically tied to your specific cause, but hey, do you have a family member that impacted by cancer? And this is why, how it ties in. You're donating to my campaign, which ultimately helps with solids and tumors. So something like that. You want to come up with messaging, saying talk to your potential donors and supporters, get understanding of their stories. It's not just about your personal story and why it should really matter to them.
Love it. I love it. Look at this girl be dropping the gems today, honey. You're just coming in. Welcome to Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. You're here with Business Weekly with your girl, Miss J. Each week I come on to discuss things that are happening in your business, mostly challenges, because let me tell you, challenges is what stops a lot of CEOs from becoming great. And when you're building an empire or you're building a legacy, you definitely need to be weighing in each week, because we're talking about things that are happening on the ground, from whether you're starting a business, you're sustaining, or you're scaling your business. All of the topics we're talking about at this show is giving it to you. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please follow us at Love Bay Radio on IG. Make sure you're subscribed right here on this channel. And always join and follow your girl, Miss J, for more tips, tricks. I rarely post, but when I do, it's impact. So follow me on Empire by Design _ We're going to share Roxana's information a little bit later, because she is definitely somebody that you want to get in touch with when it comes to conversion. I mean, I've watched her do it, and I love the fact that I get more and more calls, because we're building her systems bigger and bigger to handle all the conversion that's happening. And I saw that through, that transparency piece. I love when I see you speak about that with at the workshop. Actually, you were very transparent, and sometimes we think about, is our company as transparent as we think it is? Can people see through it? If you have a product, for example, and Roxana, you can feel free to jump in and share any of your examples or stories as well. But I find that when people have products, do you find that there's a struggle to clearly articulate what the product or service does? Like, do you find clients are struggling with that when you're putting their campaigns together?
Yeah, I do. Like sometimes they are struggling. Like they're not able to kind of simplify. You want to keep it very simple. Like keep it simple and stupid,
Mhm.
right? That's yeah.
Keep
Right?
it
Like, you
simple,
gotta keep
stupid.
it
Or we
simple.
like to say sweetie sometimes.
Yeah, because you want to make it so it's understandable, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you want to be transparent. Like, I guess, well, from a fundraising standpoint, you want to say where the donations are going, be very transparent. Like, but like from a, and then have the donors be part of the journey, right? Whereas, for a product base, just tell them, just be very transparent of what, why this product or services would be
Yeah.
beneficial for you. And then
Yeah.
the transformation by using that product or service, like what's the transformation they'll receive, and by using that. And so with also when you're doing a fundraising campaign for a nonprofit, you want to show, okay, now because of your donation, you know, we were able to help so many community members facing these challenges, and it was able to help resolve because of the financial donations that we received, right? So you want to kind of
Mhm.
state like the impact, the
Yes.
transformation, because people really care. People
Yes.
generally care and they really want to help.
I agree. And it's the same with businesses, when you're especially looking to scale your business and you're looking to get into a store, you're looking to get into some form of distribution system, or you want to collaborate with somebody, having your KPIs are super important. And, KPIs, for those who are new to that language, key performance indicators, it runs the same. And I think that's what I love about today's show, is because she's talking very pointedly from fundraising experience. And this is what she does. Her business is fundraising. She takes people's organizations, she understands them. The way she internalizes information is crazy. Like, I could honestly say that level of respect that I have for her has risen because she takes a company and she inserts it. It's like what I do, but she does it from a perspective of, I build the concept. But for a fundraising coordinator, they have to see not just the front end of the business, but the back end of the business, the size of the business, and really see where those revenue streams and how to connect that raising of funds to the programs and services they offer. Now, if she's doing that at that level, the question you have to ask yourself is, I only have one company. Am I doing that at that level? Do I know my audience as well as I know my business? Because you have to speak to your audience about what you do. And I find that a lot of CEOs, they lose a lot of trust because sometimes they're talking and they're kind of overselling, if this makes sense, right? You're telling me that your product solves world peace. You're telling me your product is, you everybody swears by it. I hate that term, everybody. I hate that term, everybody, because everybody means you're telling me 7 billion people are resonating with you. You know what I mean? So be really careful on your stewardship practices, meaning you are the steward of your company. And I'm talking to all my people out there who are running their empires. You are the stewards of your company, and people are going to take what you say as Bible. So, you got to make sure that you're putting out the right messaging, and you got to make sure that they can say, yes, this product works. Yes, this service works. And in nonprofit fundraising, I'm going to say it's pretty much the same thing, right, Rox? Like,
Yeah.
people want to know that the program that you're supporting, it works. Like, you've
Yeah,
helped students.
it's helping so many people. It's transforming so many lives. It's transforming, whether the environment or the animals or whatever the need is in
Mhm.
that organization is helping to resolve.
Yeah.
So So that's from a nonprofit NGO perspective. But, also, I guess in a business perspective, you want to show like the transformation. I have a
Mhm.
business, for profit business that helps nonprofits. I help them transform to, they don't have a donor base, grow their donor and supporter base. And if they aren't able to raise funds through individual donations or corporate sponsorships, I help them through that process. So I'm selling them the transformation that they're going to receive by working with me, right? Working with my business. So that's kind of like what you need to do for your business. You need to hone in on the transformation that you're going to be providing, because it's going to make it so much easier, cut the learning curve for them to do it themselves.
Did I not say people should be dropping gems today? I hope you take some notes. This is definitely where it's at. Let's start wrapping up our conversation on follow-up. So we spoke about, the importance of going through those warm leads. How does follow-up make the difference between a one-time gift and a lasting partnership?
Yeah, follow up is a beginning of a conversation. It's a beginning of a relationship. It's not the end of a transaction. A timely thank you is one step, but then after that, even matters more, like nurturing them, showing where their gift is, how it's made an impact in the past couple of weeks after their
Mhm.
gift, after
Yeah.
their donation. Show them the progress. Show them, like, oh my gosh, like, because of your donation, this is where we're at now. This is how our organization has improved. Kind of be
Mhm.
transparent. Show them like how your organization has grown, like from a fundraising donation perspective. And then if it's from a business context, you want to keep following up. You want to build that relationship, nurture that relationship, and saying,
Yeah.
kind of like, like there's more transformation that can come out of it by continuing to work with it.
Mm. I
Yeah.
love that. And that can be done through surveys, right? It's like your steward. It's called a stewardship system. I hope you're okay over there. You good? Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
pass away on my show, please. I've not lost anybody yet. Ah,
Yeah.
you good? Okay, good. And that comes off of stewardship. When we talk about stewardship, that's what it means. I mean, we part of Roxana's system is keeping constant contact throughout the process, because in her system, she has the budding plan, which is basically building your contact or your donor list. But then she also has like other plans, branch plan and other plans. But one of the biggest things that she says in her system is you have to send information out repeatedly. It can't just be they're on your list now and now give me $25, right? It definitely has to be something where you're warming them up.
Mhm.
The same for profit. You have newsletters. What are you using? Are you good on social media? I'm not good on social media, but I'm really good on newsletters. I can plan on my newsletters and I set them to send out so that my clients are consistently being touched by me, whether I'm not having a session or we're not having a meeting. They're still going to see something there that's helping them to continuously grow. So what system do you have in place? This question is for you. If you have one, throw it in. I mean, don't type out the whole thing and throw it up. But if those listeners, if you do have a system, say, yes, I have a system. Um, because it's important. I can't stress how important it is to connect with people. Right now, I'm pushing for everyone to build their brand communities, because at the end of the day, it's the communities are the ones who are going to be keeping your business viable. And most importantly, they're going to be the ones talking to other communities, right? Talking to other people. So it's super important that you have that. If you could give one piece of advice to nonprofits struggling to improve donor conversion rates, what would it be?
It would be focus less on asking for money and more about building relationship. It's not a
Right.
transactional relationship. I think some nonprofits, they just focus, like their only message to a contact would be, here's my campaign, donate now. And that's it. And then you don't hear from them again. It's not, it kind of rubs people the wrong way. Just don't
Agreed.
focus on the donation, focus on building that relationship with that, and then building out your network that way.
You
And
heard it right here.
yeah, you're really
Yeah.
trying to make a difference, and that should be long term. So
You heard it right here.
Having that conversation and continue that conversation, because we live in this world for a social impact, and part of that is not just giving donations, but having a connection, having a relationship, that also ties into the community, right? Like, just, I mean, it doesn't have to be monetary. It could be volunteer or just spreading the word, just getting to know someone, just really authentically trying to get to know someone. It's all about people. And you never know, your donors could inspire you. You never know. Like, you can just talk to them, they can inspire you. You're not just inspiring them by like the transformation you're putting together in your community for the programs that you're serving, but just listen, have a conversation, a coffee chat. They can inspire you too. So it goes both ways. So you're trying to build a relationship and focus on building a relationship, not a transaction.
Love it.
That's what it is.
Right here again. Oh no, she's gonna go. Keep going. You're gonna keep going. You're gonna give more gems, more gems, more gems. I'm gonna stop you there. Don't give away too much gems. They have to come to your class. They have to.
I know. So I just had my first master class, so I felt like it went well, but there's a lot of
amazing. I even showed up and took some
another
notes.
one. Yeah.
The next one's coming. I'm not giving her any rest. There's already another waiting list coming down the pipe. So, look out for Roxana Muzzammel, the CEO of Grassroots Fund. I want to thank you so much for being here, for sharing. I know you're going to be coming back. I know people are going to want to hear more from you and more gems. So we definitely will have you back on the show. But in the meantime, in between time, keep raising those funds, keep helping MPOs to convert their leads into dollars and to continue helping the communities that they serve. Thank you, Roxana. Have an amazing day. And as we always say for you, just keep on flying, because that's what we do. All right, girl. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you all. Bye.
Take care. Yes. Let me tell you, did that half an hour run by, 40 minutes run by quick? Yes, honey, it did. Why? Because at the end of the day, the truth is lead generation is only half the battle. You can have an amazing lead generation system, but when your conversion happens, it happens because your message is aligned, your process is strong, and your value is clear, okay? So if today's episode spoke to you and you're ready to break through on creating some systems to convert, call your girl, Miss J. You can hit me up at info@empirebydesign.ca. That's my email. Or you can hit me up on Instagram at empirebydesign_. Let me tell you, whenever we come into these shows, I come in with the purpose of hearing what people are asking me. And I talk to a lot of my clients pretty much every week, every day. It really depends on, what they're doing. Like I said earlier, my clients are winning. They're winning. And when they win, I'm really busy. And so I don't get a chance to onboard a lot of new people because my existing clients are just growing like crazy. So I love it, because why? It tells me that they're not only just growing in themselves, they're strengthening their knowledge, skill, and capacity so they can be the best for the people that they're looking to serve. And that's where your heart has to be. Your heart has to be real. You've got to start looking at things from a different perspective and not just looking at things from the money perspective. Because why? The money is just a result of helping people. So if you're not helping people, you're not going to make money. It's really that simple. If you're in it for the wrong reasons, you're not going to make money. If you're only in there so you can have a title and talk about your life and yourself, you're not going to make money. You want to make sure that you are building trust, you're building credibility, and you're building authenticity. All right. So this has been Business Weekly right here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio in my new studio. And I want to thank you for tuning in with us each and every week. We're going to be here Thursdays at 7 p.m. with Business Weekly. And remember, don't just chase more leads. Fix your conversion system, because income doesn't come from interest. It comes from action. All right. So as always, keep your head in the skies, spread your wings, and let's fly. I'll talk to you later, and have a very progressive week or weekend.